point, so we've got to the London Olympics,
Yeah.
and you've missed qualification for that,
Yeah.
for whatever reason. And so how long after that was it till you changed coach?
Well, I kind of, after the Olympics, I thought I was going to quit.
Okay.
So I just kind of didn't do anything for a month. And again,
So what was that like when you were thinking about quitting?
Oh, I was not in a good place.
No.
No, I wasn't a very nice person to be around.
No.
I think pretty much from the end of 2011 onwards, things were difficult for me.
Yeah.
It was an uphill struggle. It was like wading through treacle. Everything seemed hard, and everything I tried just seemed to not work out. So yeah, I was starting to get quite I was at the point where when one thing goes wrong, you just spiral into everything's wrong, everything's bad. And looking back now, in 2013, I was actually diagnosed with depression. I can see the pattern starting earlier on of just not being able to cope with things.
Yeah.
When one thing goes wrong, and then the whole world goes wrong.
Yeah. So what was the kind of initial cause of that? Do you think it was the injury? Do you think it was the people around you?
I think it was. There's always been. I think there's always been a niggle of self-doubt with me.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's the case with other athletes. I've never had a really in-depth conversation about it. But there's always been a little thing on my shoulder that's like, you can't really do this. You're not really good enough.
Definitely, at least at points, I think every athlete feels that. But
yeah,
I mean, to have it kind of throughout your whole career would kind of be very strange, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's been a battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say not addressing that sooner.
Yeah.
Has cost me a lot, and that's my responsibility. I should have.
It is, but it's also kind of the responsibility of the people you also have around you. So British Athletics, Scotland Athletics, Cardiff University, or whatever it was back in the day.
Yeah.
But also the developments in psychological kind of welfare for athletes and performance and things like that definitely weren't thought about back in kind of 2010.
Yeah.
That's been quite a quick development, so it's very kind of sad, I guess, that kind of it didn't happen later on when we have the developments in psychological
it was exactly. I totally agree. And I think one of the things I struggled with was in long jump. I used to really turn to aggression and anger to fuel performance. I was a really aggressive performer and a really aggressive competitor. Yeah. And in long jump, you can just. It was only ever a bonus. The angrier I got, the better I jumped. Okay. I would run faster and jump better, and it's really. I found that it didn't affect technical stuff. Long jump's not. It is technical, don't get me wrong, but it's really you can be really aggressive with it. Yeah. So even if I got that sort of self-doubt thing, I could just really turn on it. Yeah. And then when it came to pole vault, that really only gets you so far, and actually it starts being detrimental because you have to maintain an element of control. Yes. There's so many variables in pole vault, and it is so highly technical that just coming in hell for leather, being angry, only ends up sometimes can really end up in you actually hurting yourself and getting. Yeah. So then I was like, well, I can't use that. I have to find a measure of control. Yeah. And then by that time I'm 24. And then so Commonwealth Games comes around and I'm 27, and I'd had effectively, in my eyes, multiple failures, and I'd still not done what I wanted to do. I hadn't won a Commonwealth medal. I hadn't qualified for Olympic Games. So then the negatives start adding up, and they start outweighing the positive experiences, and then it just gets harder and harder and harder and harder. So it just builds. Yeah. And then and it was a massive blow. Not going to London. It was a huge blow. And I really did come close off the back of an absolutely fucking terrible, season of multiple no heights. I think I did 4 back-to-back no heights going into the British Champs because I just hadn't had a consistent run or build-up because of my injuries. The knee, and then I pulled my hamstring, and then I pulled my calf. Yeah. So it was like hurdle after hurdle, and I had 4 back-to-back no heights, and I went in there. somehow got over the opening bar and then just suddenly hit my stride, and I was like, and then it was the next 2 bars I cleared first time, and then it was the next bar would have been qualifier.
Okay.
And then they, and this is an ongoing theme in this country, officials in pole vault aren't particularly good at getting the bar back on. It sounds ridiculous, but there's a bit of skill involved. But they are usually fairly a bit old because they volunteer a lot of the time. Thank you, we love you, but it's a bit tricky. And they were just having a nightmare getting the bar back on for this next height. They had to calibrate it as well because it was the qualifying height. Okay. So the whole comp stopped for half an hour, and we were all on a roll. Yeah, we were all on a roll. Yeah. And then it just stopped while they couldn't get the bar on and calibrate. They knocked it off again. It just went on, and then everyone went out. We all sat down, and the high we dropped. The adrenaline dropped, and then one girl cleared it, and it was like. Yeah. So not only did I not go, but to turn a season around like that and come so close and think I'm going to do this after everything I've been through. I'm actually going to do this. It was really devastating. It was it was hard to acknowledge that. And so I think a sort of spiral kind of started then. Yeah. And then I started training again, and then winter of December 2012, I ruptured my hamstring. So completely off the bone. And then January 2013, my dad got ill, and we didn't really know what was going on with him. He was essentially an alcoholic, and that had been spiralling out of control. He'd been out of work for about a year, and it had just been getting worse. So there was definitely background emotional stuff with me going on with him, and that kind of relationship. And we'd had a difficult relationship my whole life anyway. I love him dearly, don't get me wrong. It's just it was a difficult father-daughter relationship because I wasn't an easy daughter, and he was quite a traditional father. So I definitely pushed the boundaries. But he got ill, and he was kind of backwards and forwards for tests. Probably only for about 4 weeks, and they really didn't even get a diagnosis, even though Mum suspected it was cancer. And then, he died in March. So within 2 months, he died of liver cancer, and I had a ruptured hamstring, and then no career, and then and that's when it got pretty dark.
Things got bad.
So that was, and that kind of was the culmination of the 2 shit years in athletics, and then Dad dying. And then I saw a lot of his traits in me, and that was quite scary because when he was a master mariner in the Merchant Navy, and so he was amazing at navigating massive freight liners across the sea. But when he couldn't do that anymore, he was kind of forced to retire from it because they just started employing European captains at a much cheaper rate. He couldn't compete with. He couldn't do it anymore. He couldn't see any transfer of skills to anything else. They didn't want to. Okay. So he just sort of refused life.
Quite stubborn.
Yeah. He was stubborn, and he always drank. But then I don't want to do anything else. I want to do this. And I can't. And he just couldn't make his peace with it. And then was just started heavily drinking more and more. And so then, 2013, I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to. I just refused. And I suddenly was like, shit, that's what Dad did. So I was like, well, you've got to. You can't just refuse life, unfortunately.
That's what parents are there for. You got to learn from them.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. You're very true. So that was.
So you learned that from him.
From him, thanks, Dad. And I learned a lot about myself from him. I learned a lot about the negative voice on my shoulder and what that was. When I decided I'd always loved food, and I loved cooking, like really passionate about food and cooking. And I thought, well, I love that. My mum was a nutritional therapist, and I thought, okay, I'll go back to university and I'll study for a master's degree in nutrition.
So was that in 2013 or 2014?
So I started the course like the end of 2013.
Okay.
But part of what you have to, I did it through CNELM with Middlesex University. And that's the Centre for Food, Nutrition Education and Lifestyle Management. And they make you do a therapy diploma alongside it. So you get degree in nutrition, but you actually have a diploma in practicing clinical therapy as well. So it's not just here's all the science, it's how to apply it.
Yeah.
But part of that you have to do an NLP course, which is neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah.
It's a bit like CBT.
Yes.
So I'm technically a life coach as well. But in doing that, I realised how I talk to myself, which is really badly. I was so mean to myself, horrendous. I just used awful language. I was negative, and I hated my body. So I was hating this thing that I was asking to do. Can you please do incredible things? But I hate you because you keep letting me down. So I had this. It was just. So doing that NLP course really opened my eyes to how I've been treating myself, really.
Okay.
And that was a huge turnaround in the way I felt. So I was diagnosed with depression. Although not that I don't believe I was depressed, or I don't believe in depression, but I just feel like it was too easy for them to just go, here's some tablets.
Yes.
What I was going through was huge grieving, and for two things, for my career and for my father. And I was overtraining massively. I was fighting so hard to get back from injuries that my body was just depleted massively of everything. So
I think it's quite dangerous for kind of people to just give things a label.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too easy.
It's too easy, and that's the whole thing with diseases. Is naming it doesn't mean that it's cured. So what? So you've labelled me depressed, you've labelled me celiac disease, you've labelled me diabetic, and what?
Yeah.
All that is just a name for an imbalance in your body.
Yeah.
But you've still got to work out what the imbalance is in the first place and where it's coming from.
And how to solve it.
And how to solve it.
Yeah.
So yes, mine was manifesting as symptoms of depression.
Yes.
But when I got on top of the way I talked to myself and the food I was eating, and actually started nourishing myself and stopped being mean and stopped overtraining, I started to feel much better.
Yeah.
I still was grieving for my dad, but I wasn't depressed. So I'm quite passionate about that thing of just pills. I've labelled you, and here's a matching medication for it.
Yeah.
It's not solution.
It's not the solution.
It's not the solution.
I totally agree with that.
So that year drove me into the arms of nutrition, and I've not looked back. And through nutrition and through that NLP course, I actually came back to vaulting, having been told you're done. This hamstring is the end for you.
Yep.
And in December 2013, so a year after rupturing my hamstring, I actually jumped the qualifier for the Commonwealth Games in 2014. So it's amazing.
Things were on the up again.
Things were on the up again, but I was I'd like to say I was a bit more laid back about my career and a bit more accepting of things that were out of my control, I suppose. Ish.
That's good. So at that point, what was your kind of goal then, going back into pole vaulting?
I just wanted to go to the Commonwealth Games and redeem myself for Delhi. Which, oh God.
Because that Commonwealth Games was in Scotland, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
And at that point you were vaulting for Scotland.
Vaulting for Scotland, and it was only about, not even 20 miles away from where my dad was born.
Yeah.
So there was a whole lot of emotional things tied up in that performance and in going there. 2014 was a pretty good year pole vaulting. I was probably the most consistent I've been for a while. I did a couple of jumps quite near my PB again.
Yeah. You had the new coach, the younger coach?
No, I was kind of coaching myself, and Kate Dennison was actually helping me with pole vault. He's a former British record holder herself and Olympic representation at Beijing and London. She was helping with my pole vault, and I was writing the rest of my program, and it was pretty consistent. It was pretty good. I was studying at the same time, which was a kind of good distraction, although masters are really hard. I didn't know how hard they were. Like, it's just a stupid thing to say, I realise. But you kind of look around and go, loads of people have masters, right? I could do that.
Yeah,
and then I'm like,
it's like bachelor's degree.
It's pretty much a bachelor's degree, exactly. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so much work. What's with all the reading? It was a lot of work. So there was quite a lot of stress with that. So I was kind of juggling a lot of things and a job because I wasn't funded anymore.
Okay.
So there was a lot going on.
Was this after you had done the nutrition course, was that the nutrition
that
course?
That was the nutrition, course I was doing. So the whole of 2014 and 2015 into January 2016 was me on doing a master's degree.
Yeah.
So
what were you working as when you were?
I was a receptionist and admin assistant in the physio clinic at Loughborough University.
Okay.
It was part-time, and they were my manager there was very understanding and very flexible. So it was 9 to 1, and then I'd train. So I'd sometimes train before, and then I'd train after, and then I'd study.
Yeah.
So it was. Now I look back, and it was full on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The student lifestyle.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and I was doing it remotely, so it was a lot of. You really had to be motivated to do it, to sit down and watch lectures. When you're like, I could just sit and and sleep and do something else. But now you really have to go upstairs and watch a lecture. So but I did enjoy that time. It was a good time. Yeah, but it was busy, but it got me through to the Commonwealth Games, and I went in feeling injury free and positive, and I'd been jumping well, and I was a favourite for a medal, like Delhi, and then the gods were just unbelievably
just before the Commonwealth Games. What's that feeling like just before you go into it? Because obviously you're seeing all the other vaulters doing all their other competitions, so you've got kind of an eye on what they're doing and kind of what you're doing.
I was really, really looking forward to it, but I have to admit I did at one point have a complete meltdown. I remember sitting in the bar crying, and my poor boyfriend was just in the bathroom, and he was a bit at his wit's end, and it was a lot of pressure. I put a lot of pressure back on myself. So the lead up, I was enjoying it again, loving it, and just jumping well. And then I think when I realised that I was jumping well enough to get a medal, and there was a whole, like I said, there was a lot of emotion tied up into it, and this might be my last chance because I'm getting on a bit, and I didn't do it the last Delhi, and blah blah blah. And I am one for bottling those things up and just pushing them down and putting on a brave face, but not even a brave face. You just wouldn't know.
Don't talk about it.
Just don't talk about it. And then it just exploded like that.
So
and I was just getting snappier and snappier, and then it all came out, and it was just the pressure I was putting on myself. That was it. So once I'd done that, I kind of let it go, and actually used a bit of NLP on myself. Did some belief changes with myself, and really looked at again where these things were coming from and what that was getting for me, and used some of those techniques. I found myself back in a happy place and was able to go there and be like, okay, let's just let this happen. So and it did. It happened.
So you go to the games and you're in Scotland. You've got the crowd there. What happens?
The heavens opened, and I've never been. It was like a monsoon. It was like an actual Indian monsoon. And the night before, the men had vaulted on the Thursday, and it had been a beautiful, balmy summer's evening, and it was just amazing. And then the next day, it just started raining, and it just didn't stop. Like I can't even tell you. But I was actually still. I don't know how. I was still really upbeat. And.
So for anyone that's watching that doesn't really know about pole vault, how bad is it if it rains when you're trying to pole vault? It's
so dangerous. And you can't. The thing is, you have to pole vault. You're gripping a pole. And you can't. And if your grip is wet, you just don't. You can't grip. And then it just becomes really, really dangerous. So in the rain, you need to have somewhere where you can keep your pole dry and your grip dry and you dry. And they had some little sort of shelters. But there was, I don't know, like 12 girls between two little shelters. And you go out there with all your equipment and all your kit. And it was just impossible to keep anything dry. Like we went out there with multiple towels each. We knew what the weather was like, so everyone had packed like 12 towels each. And they just everything was soaking, everything. And so even this tiny amount of time between taking your kit off and being ready to go, you were soaked, like drenched, like you stood in a shower. So you had to walk. Someone, like we were taking it turns to hold an umbrella over each other at the start. You actually see photos of girls ready to go, and there's someone at the side holding an umbrella over them because you have to keep your grip dry. But it's stupid things. It's like you have like routines that you go through, before you go, and one of mine was always like grip the pole, and then I'd wipe my hand on my bum, and then I'd do that again. And doing that, I'm like, right, soaking wet again. So then things just changed. So it was, and you couldn't see the box. You were running through like a 2 ml of water on the track. Oh, wow. It wasn't like it was like it was settling on the track. They were squeegeeing in between jumps. It was just, you could barely, it was so sheeting down that you could barely see the bed. And any other comp, it would have been cancelled. And they talked about it, but because the scheduling was terrible, and it was the last event on the last day, there was no space and there was nowhere to move it to. Okay. They couldn't put it on the next day because there wouldn't have been anyone there. That was it. It was finishing that night. Arguably, I think we would have preferred to do it with no crowd and just done it, because only 4 girls cleared a bar that day, and 3 of those medalled, and the 4th one only lost her medal on countback. Oh, yeah. So and there was what was that? There was like 8 to 9 girls that no-heighted. Yeah. And and not only did we go through that, but in warm-up, I broke a pole for the first time in my whole career. Wow. So in the pouring rain, in the warm-up, I also snapped the pole and landed in the box. Okay. And smashed my left knee against the pole. Yeah. So it was just...
So does that give you doubts when you go in? Is that kind of bad omens? Do you believe in that?
No, I don't actually. I just... By that point, it was like, you've just got to laugh or cry here. This is just... It was just ridiculous. They took us off, and they delayed the start because they were literally watching the forecast minute by minute, and they were like, if we delay it by half an hour, it's going to clear up, soon. So we came in after warming up in that weather, and we went back out, and it started raining again. We went back out, took us in, and just made us sit around for a while, at which time I was just icing my knee. And then we went back out, and then it started raining again. And actually, the smart move was to wait and come in at later heights, because it had stopped raining, and 2 of the girls did that. And when they entered, the rain had stopped. But because I had broken a pole and hurt my knee, and I was then borrowing a pole from someone to open up with, I was like, I just don't feel confident in coming in at 4 meters, which is when I would usually have come in. I'm going to come in at 380. Just don't even talk about it. And then, so my first, and there was no re-warm up at this point. They just took us out and got us going. So
when you're sitting there and kind of this is all going on, it's getting delayed, what are you thinking? Because you've either got to be really unsure about what's going on, or you've got to be really confident that, okay, when I get out there, I'm going to smash this now.
Well, you say it's either one or the other. I feel like I was somewhere in between. I didn't know, none of us knew what was going on. But at the same time, I'm like, it's more like there is no choice. You're either going to cope or you're not. You're either going to go out and do it or you're not. And I've kind of always been of that mindset where, like when I'm coaching, I'll never use the word try. Can you please try and do this? Either do it or don't do it. But the intention is to do it. But don't try, because trying just implies failure. So I wasn't going to go out and try, I was just going to go out. And I was either going to do it or I wasn't going to do it. And technically, in my mind, I did it. So I went out and I actually did exactly what I did in Delhi, which was take off and then land back on the track. But that was it was like we call like a bit of a feeler. I was testing the waters. Okay, I'm still in one piece. I took off. I didn't die. I didn't slip off the pole. What I did do was land back on the track, literally on my heel, and got a huge, massively bruised heel from it because I came like off my pole, straight back down. So then that was on. So I was limping on both sides by then. So I was like, okay, this is going well. And then on my second attempt, I did take off but landed on the mat. So I didn't. I swung and then bowed out of it. Okay, I was like, okay, now I'm on the mat. So it's one step better. And then I'm down to third attempt, and I'm really, really proud of my third attempt. I cleared the bar. I absolutely went for it on a borrowed pole, and I swang and I did it, and I cleared the bar. And then, as I was going over the bar, I just watched the pole come through and knock the bar off.
Oh no! Oh no!
Because it wasn't my opening pole, it was a borrowed pole, I just sort of failed to realise, and again, it's my responsibility that, and I'd come in at a lower height, the pole was actually higher than what the bar was at. Usually it would have gone underneath. but because I'd come in at an earlier height, I just didn't push them. I just didn't push
it the right way.
Push it away. And plus because the other thing, the other 2 jumps, I landed on the track and I hadn't jumped, so you know, the pole, I didn't expect the pole to be moving that fast, but I stepped up and I went for it, and I did it. And then I'm like, so the whole crowd went crazy, and then the bar plopped off, and they were like, and I was just like, I can't believe what has just happened. I just can't believe. So anyway, I stood up and took a bow, and again the crowd were just amazing. Like, they're amazing, and I just soaked it up, and I held because the crowd were making so much noise. The start of the 400 meters was actually held up. Yeah. They had to get them out of their blocks because the crowd wouldn't shut up, and I'm like, I did that. Yeah. So that was it, and then I'm like, right, well, that's my Commonwealth done again.
Yeah. And at that point, you're thinking retiring or keeping going?
Right then, I was a bit numb. I was like, I literally couldn't believe what happened. And when I walked over to see Kate in the crowd, and a couple of the coaches and old friends of mine, the crowd around her there, the look on their faces were just like, they couldn't believe what had happened. They just couldn't. And they were, and it was kind of, that was almost a nice moment that they were just like almost heartbroken for me. Yeah. And they understood what that meant, and they also understood that was just not fair. That was just not fair. That was unnecessary, and they were quite emotional for me. So, but that, I think I just went out and got absolutely off my face.
I don't blame you for that.
For 2 nights in a row there, but because that year had gone so well, and I felt like I was kind of getting back into a groove, I was like, it would be stupid to. I didn't want to walk away, throw it away, and I was like, well, I'm halfway to the next Olympics now, it's only 2 more years, so I hung in there. Yeah. And it proved to be a really difficult and emotional 2 more years. That's what sport does.
Yes. But, so at that point you're thinking, oh, I'm going to try and make the Olympics, which would have been the 2016 Rio Olympics.
Yeah, Rio, yeah.
So you went back to Loughborough to train?
Yeah.
But now you've qualified from your nutritional degree.
No, that was still that was all still going on. So I finished that in January 2016.
Okay.
But because I had to miss the indoors 2015 because I had clinical work on, and so I had time in clinic that I had to do, so I couldn't do the indoors there. And then the outdoors 2015 was okay. It was a bit volatile. It came good at the end, and then I just picked up a little injury, which meant I kind of had to stop jumping in probably July, whereas I'd like to go on all the way through to August. So that was an okay year. It was probably just a bit of a consolidator. It wasn't blinding. And then I came into 2016, after the end of 2015, that indoor going into 2016, had a really, really good indoor season, indoor training. Yeah. And then the season came round. The indoor season, and then I was back on the no heights again. Okay. And I was actually, it was just so frustrating, and at that point I was pretty much completely coaching myself. And I just realised that in competitions I wasn't making the right decisions, and that's what coaches do for you. Yeah. It's really hard, because again there's so many variables in pole vault to make good decisions, or the right ones. Do I change up poles? Do I move my stands? Do I need to run harder? Did I back off? Yeah. Am I committed to this? And you need a coach to be like, this is where you took off. This is where you need your stands. Change up poles. Stay on the same pole. Change your grip. So this is how many variables there are. Yeah. And so I'm walking back, going, oh my god, I don't know what to do. And I think I did 4 no heights in a row again, and also hurt my knee again because I was just jumping a bit badly or just trying too hard. Yeah. And that's when I realised I'm not going to make Rio without a coach to guide me, and that's when I found Rich Humby, who was part of the West London Track and Fields training group down in Brunel, to take me on. So I started driving down there once a week, and he would come up to Leicester once a week, and then I got way more consistent again. Yeah. So that was great, and I was loving it again. It was nice not having responsibility. I had a coach who also wrote my training program, and that's finally I kind of switched off. And in 2016, January, I handed in my dissertation, so I'd finished my masters as well. Okay. So it kind of felt like, okay, I can breathe again. I've got space and time to commit to this. And then it was going really, really well. and it was going well. And I think my second outdoor comp in Cardiff, I warmed up really, really well, and it was all going so well. Yeah. And then I tore my hamstring, the one that I ruptured.
Yeah.
So then that was 4 weeks out from the Olympic trials, and effectively that was 4 weeks of rehab when I went into Olympic trials.
Just cold.
And not knowing whether my hamstring would hold up.
Yeah.
But I did clear a bar.
That's good.
And then I pulled my hamstring again. So it just went, no, you can't do this.
Yeah.
So that was it, and that was another Olympics gone.
Yeah.
So I've been through the ringer.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because these are quite often the stories you don't get told.
No.
You get told about all the people that, like, oh, they're amazing, they broke their leg and then they came back 6 weeks later and won championships.
Exactly, yeah, you get the hero.
The majority of the time that doesn't happen.
No, and funnily enough, actually, my friend Scott, who was the first coach of pole vault, who got me into pole vault in the first place, after 2012, he like I said, he moved to Loughborough, and I lived with him for a bit. And after 2012, after I missed London, and he said, "Are you going to carry on?" I said, "I just don't know. I don't know if I can commit myself to this and go through this again. And I haven't achieved anything." And he said, "Then you just got to make the decision, knowing that you're going to feel like this again in the next 4 years. Not as in you are going to fail, but it's not going to be plain sailing. It's not. It's going to be really, really tough." And he was absolutely right. It was. I had absolutely like desperate moments again. And by the time I was at the British Champs for Rio, I absolutely knew that this was going to be a miracle.
Yeah.
I was going to be pulling, more than a rabbit out of a hat if I managed to do anything like here. It would have been, but I couldn't not go. I had to go and try because you just never know.
Yeah.
So I was only off 12 steps. It wasn't even a full run, and I hadn't vaulted in 4 weeks. But I'm like, I just have to go. I can't not go.
I think it's the not knowing
exactly
come out of that,
and that's always been, and that's kind of been it. It's like I can't quit for fear of failure, and not being able to say I gave this everything. Yeah. And it didn't work out, but I didn't leave any stone unturned. I never turned away from a challenge because of fear, or because of me looking stupid, or because I might do another no height. So, I mean, I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I would be proud of that. That's something that's very special for kind of athletes to have.
Yeah.
And for you especially, going back from so many things and still having that determination.
Yeah, I'm pretty tenacious.
Yeah, it sounds like you needed it. Yeah. So you've kind of got past the Olympics, decided to kind of have a coach. Are you still working with the coach after the Olympics? Yeah,
we did. I came back. I got married in 2016, and we went on honeymoon after Rio. Okay. I got back from that, and I was like, okay, one last go. We've got the World Champs, the Outdoor World Champs in London, and then Gold Coast in 2018, like early 2018 though. So I was like, it's 18 months, only 18 months, and then I'm done. Yeah. Because I'm like, only 18 months till I can redeem the Commonwealth record that I have. Yeah. And in that time, if I get it together, then I might qualify for a World Champs at home. So I'm like, okay, let's just do this one last time. Yeah. Let's get back on that. Put myself back in the line of fire. Yeah. So after the Olympics, you pulled your hamstring in the Olympic trials. Yeah. Well, I did it again. I just re-injured the thing I'd done 4 weeks before. So yeah. So after the Olympics, you had this kind of pull on your hamstring. Yeah. So how long was it until that was healed and then you could train again? So I did. I went straight. I know in a hamstring rehab pretty well now, having ruptured it and pulled it multiple times. So I just went straight back into what I know of that. Yeah. And I was back running again before I went on honeymoon in September. Yeah. Or in August, and then I got back on honeymoon, and then I still sort of not trained because it was honeymoon, but I like doing it. So we did stuff while I was away. So by the time I got back, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go into the training program again. Yeah. So what did that training program look like? Essentially, I would vault twice a week. Once it was started off at once to sort of build up a bit of conditioning. Yeah. Ideally, I like vaulting twice a week. at this point in my career, I couldn't sprint and vault. My body just would be like, no, you can't do both. But I've always been a fairly stable sprinter. Like sprint training would pretty much only improve my run-up speed fractionally.
Yeah.
I suppose I've trained for so many years now. I am pretty stable.
Yeah.
In most things. So I didn't really need to do a lot of sprint training.
Yeah.
I just needed to be able to kind of run. So sprinting flat out, I didn't really do.
I guess I guess you see it with sprinters as well. Kind of when you get further to the end of your career, it's more difficult to gain that power as well.
It is. It does become more difficult, and it's just you haven't got the robust young tendons that you used to have. And I certainly didn't. So hamstring tendon, because when I ruptured my hamstring, it was actually the hammy tendon. So I tore it off the bone up here through the tendon. So again, it wasn't muscular. I don't really do muscular injuries. I just love a good tendon injury. And like my calf, I said my calf tear that I did before 2012, that was actually the soleus and Achilles junction. So it's pretty much tendons. So it's just always tendons because I use them for everything. So so it's vault twice a week. I ended up being I was like most of my program by the end prehab. It was conditioning exercises that I had to do to keep on top of maintenance of my problem areas, like my knee, my hamstring, and my hip. So it was kind of weights 2 to 3 times a week, 2 weight sessions, and then a pre-heavy weight session, and then circuits and gymnastics specific strength stuff. So yeah.
And that kept going until.
Where I was 2017.
So that would be late 2016?
That went, so it came back all the way through the end of 2016, and then 2017, and I started the indoors in 2017, and my knee flared up again. My back to the old lefty knee again.
Yeah.
And we weren't really sure what was going on with that. And it just kept kind of swelling up. And now I know what was going on there.
Yeah.
But we were like, okay, let's just leave the indoors, train through, get strong, and just smash it outdoors.
Yeah.
And that was a good tactic. The knees sort of settled down a bit. It just kept getting fluid in it, but it didn't hurt. And then trained through and came outdoors, and I had really good training, and I was really confident. But there is a bit of a weird thing in pole vault in that you jump on different lengths and like stiffness of poles. Okay. Depending on how tall, fast, strong you are and what bar you're going for, basically. So I got stuck between 2 different lengths of poles, and it sounds a bit weird, but I didn't have a transitional pole to take me from the poles. I was jumping on to clear like my opening bar, and then the pole I needed next to go to like 4 meters and above. So I was having to make basically a big jump from a pole that I was really happy and comfortable on, but I couldn't in competition, because I perform better in competition. I couldn't get over 4 meters on it, so I had to open at 3 and then make this big 380 and then make a big leap to a pole that I couldn't train on, because in training I'm not as hyped up and as strong, and so in training I couldn't move it. So I had to move straight to this pole, and so I had like 3 comps in a row where I came away with like 380. And it's only because I would blow through the bar on my soft pole, my small pole, and then come down on it on the bigger pole. So I'd have huge height and then just come down on it 3 times in a row. So that happened.
At that point, who is kind of paying for the equipment and the training?
You beg, borrow, and steal in pole vault.
Yeah.
I have a few poles that are mine personally, but I've never bought a pole. I'm so blessed because I couldn't have afforded it. They're like £400 each. So I've had people donate money to me, and I've had UKA buy me some, and Scottish Athletics bought me some in the past. And then I was really lucky that Loughborough have a huge store of poles. Actually, most of them are owned by UKA, and some of them are owned by Loughborough University. And that's one of the main reasons I've stayed in Loughborough this whole time, is because I've got access to, I'm blessed to have access to a huge cupboard full of poles. But there's very few girls that jump in this country on the poles that I needed, just because there's not enough elite girls in this country. The transition pole I needed, what I didn't have, there wasn't one in the cupboard there. However, we tracked one down like 3 comps in, and I was like, I can't make that. I'm just not making the transition to those poles. So we tracked down some stiffer poles of the same length that I was jumping on.
Yeah.
And pretty much as soon as we did that, I jumped 4:15 and then 4:25, which was my Commonwealth qualifier. So it was literally it was just like that click, and I was like, okay, now we're back again. But sort of one of the comps, my first comp I did, and then the 3:25, my first Commonwealth qualifier, my knee flared up again.
Okay.
And it settled down again within a couple of days, and I'd train through and it'd be fine. Then I'd do a comp and it wouldn't hurt, and I'd do a training session, it wouldn't hurt, and then I would just catch one thing wrong and be like, oh my god, that's outrageously painful. And then it would settle down again. So I kind of knew, but I was like, can you just hold it together until like the summer's done, please.
Just beg in the body,
just
give
please.
it to me.
And then, but then British Champs came round, and I cleared 4:15, and so then the next height was Commonwealth qualifying height, and it would have been my second one, and I would have got a medal, which was instant. That would have been automatic selection. That was their policy, and cleared 4:15. But on that jump, I fucked my knee up, and I hobbled off, and Rich was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I feel sick. And he said, are you done? I'm like, no, I'll just skip the next height. I think I'll be fine. He was like, so I was like, I can't not do this.
Can't believe it.
So I skipped 4:25. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to sit this out. 4:35 came around, and I tried running, and I was just like, oh my god, I think I'm going to throw up. So then it really blew up after that. Like it was so puffy, and it didn't settle down. And we were like, okay, this is. I was at that point. I was still thinking that's fine. Okay, so I didn't get the medal, and I didn't get the qualifier there, but I still got the whole rest of the season. We're only in like June at this point because they were so early. So I'm like, fine, I'll take a couple of weeks off, settle it down, and I'll just go and get it somewhere else. No problem. But it just wouldn't settle down. So then Shane's like, who's my husband and my physio, bless him, I think we need a scan. And I'm like, I don't want a scan. It's like, because I refuse people to, I don't like people looking at it because I know it looks shit.
Yeah.
But every time if you ever get a new doc looking at it, they're always like, oh my god, and I'm like, I know it looks bad, but it's fine. Because there is a mismatch between diagnostic equipment and actually what you feel and how you cope with things, and it's not, looking at something on an MRI just because you can see it there doesn't mean that is necessarily causing the problem or you're even feeling it. So
I mean, I think definitely if you look at it, it could look bad, but you could still use the knee.
And that's what mine's been like. It's looked terrible, but I got everything else so strong around it that it was holding up for a long time.
Yeah.
But I am terrified of people looking at it because I just don't want to know. It's it's a bit of burying your head in sand, but it had been working. And he's like, look, we just need to know. Yeah. So we did get it scanned, and the doc he was very good actually, because Shane said, please don't tell her and don't give anything away because she'll know that if you just tell me and I'll tell her. Yeah. So that happened. So I was sat at home that night after the scan, and Shane came down, sat next to me, and I was like, okay, what? And he said, there's massive holes in your tendon. And at that point, he said, you need injections, but you won't be able to vault again this season. So that was pretty devastating. Yeah. However, it was actually worse than that when another doc looked at it, and the doc that had known me my whole career and known my knee my whole career, he said, let me just make sure that it's not just what your knee looks like, and that we can't, get around it, because I know you and I know your knee and I know your pain threshold. And so he looked and he went, he said, there's not even anything to inject, was what he said. He said, you can't inject because it's not even actually on the bone. So he said, the pain you've been getting is that you've been tearing off your patella, you've been tearing the tendon off it, and you've got like half now attached and half off. Yeah. So he said, it's not a case of injection, it's a surgery job. And I was like, so I'm definitely not vaulting again this season. So that was devastating. And then there was also the fact that the fluid that I've been getting the whole time was the fact that I had a whole patch that had no cartilage left on it either. So I had to have surgery, and they, in doing that, they stitched the patella back on. So there's a plastic screw in my kneecap that's stitched to. But they also had to, what do they call it? Microfracture, where they had no cartilage. So they basically do micro drilling on it and cause your body to go in and heal it properly. Okay. And they grow new cartilage there. All right. Basically, so it's good, but it's really traumatic, and because that was actually almost more traumatic than the sewing of the tendon back on, because it meant in doing being able to get at the area to sort the cartilage out, they actually had to dislocate my kneecap, and any kind of dislocated kneecap, it has to be kept completely still for at least 4 weeks. So whereas usually a tendon surgery, that you start getting range back in it quite quickly, but you can do. I was in a leg brace, straight leg brace for 4 weeks, so it was just it was a long rehab, and my quad just disappeared. Everything disappeared. So I told Scotland that I was out for the rest of the season, and I was still, like I said, still holding out hope that they might select me off one, and they might be on the team, but it didn't happen. And that brings us to now.
That does. It brings us to now.
All the way back.
And
Chase sticking with us. And last week.
So I think it's actually quite impressive that you're able to talk about all of these things, because I think I would have a bloody meltdown. Just be like, this happened and this happened. My legs are messed up. So power to you for being able to talk about it. So how does it kind of feel now, kind of looking back on all of the things that's happened?
It's been wild. I forget all the things I've done in all that time, all the competitions I've been to, and all the trips abroad, and all the opportunities and all the fun stuff I've done. Like, there's so much. So it's been amazing. It's just so sad that it wasn't capped off with the one thing I wanted, which was an Olympic, at least representation. I wanted a medal. That was the dream. I don't know if I'll ever come to terms with that. It's so hard to dedicate 20 years of your life to something and not achieve it.
But I mean, you're still in that kind of elusive 1% that managed to get to international level of any sport.
And I know that objectively it's been a success, and I've done things. I know I'm so privileged and I'm so lucky, and people would have, really dreamed of doing what I did, representing my country multiple times, and Great Britain multiple times, and I know all that stuff, and I know that's rational, but you want to be the best of the best. That was the whole point. So second best doesn't count.
I agree, and
but I'm proud of other things. Like I said, I'm so proud of my tenacity, and I'm so proud of my strength, and I'm so humbled by the support that I've got from people, and the reflection that has on me and as a person, and I'm so proud of that, and I'm really proud to represent Scotland. I'm so proud of being Scottish, and I love pole vault, and I love being part of that community, and just so the achievements weren't. And I can't lie and pretend that I am. I know everyone wants me to be proud of it, and I know that. And I think probably in time they'll come to me more. They mean loads now. I'll come to be proud of them. I'm just not there yet. But I'm proud of other things. I'm really proud of other things, and I'm proud of the friends I've made and the life I've lived. I am proud of that. And if just a couple of things had been different, it would be a different story. I'd be sitting here with a medal. I know I would. But that wasn't meant for me. So hopefully, I think something else must be.
I definitely think so. We met ages ago. Me and Bobby met you in September, and kind of immediately were like, we definitely need to work with her.
That's nice. Thanks.
So we have a lot of love for you, and we can see a lot of good things happening for you.
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you.
No problem.
People have said some amazing things since, and I am really humbled by that. That means a lot. So.
So now, basically, you're leaving the athletics dream where it is. And moving on to something new. So you qualified with your Masters in Nutrition. And kind of obviously coming from an athletic background, you're getting into kind of nutritional advice and consultancy. How's that going?
I love it. I love doing it. I'd like to do it more. Now I have the time. I will throw more energy into that business. But I do love it. I'm so passionate about. I just love food. I really love food. But I really love real food. It's not. And knowing what I've been through and where I've come from with my injuries, people just don't understand what food is. and it's been an education even for me, from someone who likes food and likes healthy food anyway, and I hate that term because real food is healthy food. Real food is food. Junk food isn't food, it's just junk. And that's not my phrase. That was Dr. Mark Hyman. He said there's no such thing as junk food, there is junk and there is food.
Yeah.
So healthy eating is just eating real food for me. But it's just this, it's just not, it's so amazing, and our bodies are so amazing. So I told you earlier that I was in a place where I hated my body because it kept letting me down. But I was so wrong, because my body was doing everything it possibly could to just try and keep me going, and I was abusing it. And then wondering why it wasn't performing for me. When every day, on the little amount of good nourishment I was giving it and the outrageous amount of training, it was still working for me. I was still, making hormones. I was still digesting food. I was still sleeping, although I was fairly volatile. I was still training. I was still pushing weights. I was still having feelings. I was, it was still working. And you don't know how incredible an instrument it is that it can do that, even though I was not looking after it, and I wasn't giving it the right food. And food is not a pile of different shaped and different coloured calories. That is not what it is. It's not petrol, it's not just fuel. I hate those similes, I hate those those uses of just those views of food. That's what it is. It's not. Yes, it gives us energy, but it gives us everything else. It gives us minerals and nutrients and phytonutrients and everything else we need for every other part of our body to be able to work. It's not, we don't just run off energy, we run off energy plus every other micronutrient needed to make energy and to make enzymes and to make proteins and to make DNA, and it's like, you don't understand. So two pieces of toast and a head of broccoli and an apple all have the same amount of carbohydrate in them. But 2 pieces of toast is just that amount of glucose and not much else, and it's inflammatory, whereas a head of broccoli is giving you a whole array of anti-cancerous, anti-inflammatory nutrients and some really good fibre, prebiotic fibre for your gut, so that your gut's nice and healthy. And the same thing with the apple. So it's giving the same amount of fuel and energy, but it's giving you with it a whole load of nourishment and love, which you're just not going to get from toast. And people don't understand that. And so that's what. That's the mission. And athletes, it's so vital with athletes, because they go in at the top end of the pyramid and be like, right, what supplements do I need? And they're obsessed with obsessed is a strong term. They focus on macros, so how much protein and carbohydrate and fat do I need, and how many calories do I need? And it's like it's so narrow, and it's really unnecessary when your diet's crap and it's not a strong foundation of a whole load of vegetables and some healthy fats and just good sources of protein. You've got to start with the base before you can start considering the 1% gains from really tapering specific macronutrient intake and timing of meals, and then adding supplements to it. Supplements aren't going to supplement a bad diet.
No.
So
it's something that kind of I've found as well. People have a bad diet and then they take protein, kind of thinking that the protein's going to make their muscles grow quicker. Whereas in reality, the protein's just going to make them fat.
Exactly. If you're on it's not about just adding in the good stuff to a bad diet. At that point, it is going to be a whole lot of extra calories, and your body isn't going to be able to use it properly. Probably because you're not going to be able to digest it properly. Which means it's then going to become inflammatory and you're not going to be able to use it. And so it's just that sort of thing about, okay, well, I'm going to have a bad diet, but I'm going to take L-carnitine because I hear that's really good for getting you ripped, or it's good for well, it's not going to help. Or the other view, which is, if I need to get lean and ripped, I just need to calorie count and reduce everything, and then it's not sustainable, and you get starving, and you get depressed, and you start hating food, and you're not engaging with what food is again. It's disrespectful to look at food and think it's purely calories. I mean, that's just so naive, and your bodies and food are so much more intelligent and intricate than that. So it is. I want to just get that message out there, and for people to really start enjoying real food again. And the relationship just seems to have got so lost and so unhealthy, and the message is so confused. Like even recently this week, that the government message that's gone out to food production companies that they need to cut the calories in their food by however much.
Yeah.
That's not food. That's a processed piece of crap. That's so far removed from what food actually was. How long ago was any ingredient in that actually growing in a field or running around in a field? Yeah, months. And if you read the back of it, it's been made in a lab.
Yeah.
You don't make food in a lab. You make it in a kitchen. You grow it and then you cook it in a kitchen.
Yeah.
If it's in a lab, it's not food. And that reduction of calories in pizzas, and make a pizza at home, and you know what you're putting on it then.
Yeah.
It's like. And how are they going to do that? They're going to reduce the calories by taking out fat again. And we've been down this road before.
Yeah.
We've all got diabetes and we're obese. And so it doesn't work cutting out fat. And that's how they're going to do it, because it's, because there's, with 1 gram of fat, there's 9 calories. So they can take out the least amount of ingredients with the biggest calorie, deficit, meet their calorie guidelines, and then be like, yeah, we've done it.
Yeah.
We'll just put sugar in instead. Again.
Yeah.
So it's sweeteners, and it's like, and sugar obviously is, just don't get me started. And sweeteners have been shown to be just as bad, and they affect our gut microbiome as well. They cause dysbiosis, and it's focusing on the wrong thing. The message to people is, you can still eat all your takeaway food and your pre-packed food, because we're going to cut the calories for you. It's not the message that let's take responsibility and make your own food.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just the wrong message, and it just makes you so angry.
Yeah.
You can tell.
I can tell. It's really good.
Yeah.
I like it. I like enthusiastic people. It's good.
Enthusiastic's one word.
Yeah, but I think there's definitely a naivety from people that to just trust the people that are making the food for them.
Yes, exactly.
Whereas that's not really how it should be, because they don't really care about the end user as much as the money they're getting from the end user.
It's all about the profit. Yeah, it's not. They're not. Their welfare. Your welfare is not their concern.
No.
As long as they're not poisoning you.
Yeah.
And your welfare is certainly not their concern in long-term chronic diseases.
No.
If if it's your responsibility, if you know you've got things in your family or you are getting overweight, then you don't point the finger at the guy making the crap pizza that you're buying.
Yeah.
Or the packet of crisps that's still got too much fat and too many calories and too much salt and sugar in it.
Yeah.
Don't buy it. It's an attitude change, and it's people have to take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
And I'm out there to help them. No, but I do understand that it's confusing, because the message is confused, and while internet is incredible because all the information's out there, it's overwhelming, and you get inundated with health gurus who may not have the qualifications that the depth of qualification necessary to really make healthy choices for you. And again, it's personalised. We are all biochemically different.
Yep.
We've had different experiences, different stresses, different genetics, so it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And that's the message. That should be the message from the government, and also from all these people that are fanatical about certain diets.
Yes.
You've got to do this. This is the answer to everything. Well, it's not, because everyone is different, and that's probably not going to be the answer. It might work for you and it might work for me, but it might not. It's not going to work for someone else.
Yeah.
So you've got to. It is tough, but the first place to start is just to start eating real food again, and vegetables.
Yeah, start cooking, guys. Get in the kitchen.
Get back in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Start loving it. Yeah. Start spending some time in there and with your pans. Put some pans in the oven.
Yeah. I've actually started a 1-year challenge in January.
Yeah.
To try and improve as much as I can in badminton.
Okay.
So part of that is changing my diet.
Yeah.
And the basis of the diet is basically going as organic as possible.
Okay.
So the least amount of processes from all the stuff.
From field to plate.
Yes. But what tends to happen is you go to the supermarket and you're like, oh, I'll have this. And then when you really think about, go down in kind of what ingredients are in it and kind of what it is, there's very few things that are in the supermarket that are organic. They don't have a load of processes happening before you even have them.
Well, anything that you buy that's pre-made, then yes, that's pretty much going to be the case.
Yeah.
And even vegetables, if it's not seasonal, then yes, it's going to have the air miles on it and all that stuff. So you could really tie yourself in knots. If you wanted to live the good life, you've got to live the good life and turn your garden into a vegetable plot, and it's really, really hard work. But there are things that, you know, that it is actually quite simple.
It is,
It can be really simple, and you know, the things that we take for granted that you have to buy, you don't have to buy. You know, it's very simple making your own dips. It's very simple making your own mayonnaise. You know, it's tricky. It's like a bit of a tricky timing, but it's actually very simple. Simple ingredients. It's very simple making an omelette. Simple roasting chicken. You know, so and then I think people are scared of vegetables. Mostly, well, in my experience, school dinners were disgusting, and they're all boiled to death. And what do I do with them? And they don't taste great. You know, they're boring. And that is just like they're so not. I don't know if you've noticed a difference, but organic vegetables taste like vegetables. They actually have a flavour now. They have more flavour. It's not just generic. Same with eggs. If you buy organic eggs, they have this beautiful golden orange yolk in them, and it's really, they're the best eggs in the world. And then, you know, you've got a world of spices and herbs out there. And just start using those. I mean, I'm obsessed with like Middle Eastern and North African cooking. So sumac and za'atar and ras el hanout and all those like nice warm spicy flavours. Oh my god, I just put them over everything. And they're really good with vegetables. And then again, same with curries and all those curry sort of flavours and curry powder and, you know, cumin and coriander. The thing is not, I mean, yes, it's scary. It's even scary opening a recipe book because sometimes the list of ingredients can be huge, but if you feel, if you're one of those people that needs a recipe, absolutely just go for it. But at the end of the day, what can really go wrong? It might not taste amazing, but you just live and learn. You just chuck it in and see, you know, see what happens.
It's definitely my method. Make it up as I go along.
I mean, honestly, that's what I do. And I've had some absolute doozies in my time. Like, what? This has gone too far one way or the other. But most of the time, you know, it's fine. And as long as you don't poison yourself and you cook things through, and then you cook your meats, it's an experiment. It's fun. But you know, some people don't enjoy it, and then in which cases you do want to just keep it more simple. But it doesn't. I feel like it's to say, oh, I don't like cooking, so I don't do it. It's such a kind of almost an ignorant luxury to be that person. I feel like it's, and I'm sorry to say that. Well, I'm not sorry because it's how I feel, but I'm sorry if I've insulted people by saying that. But you think of the privilege that we have in this country to be able to go to the supermarket and buy fresh vegetables and all the ingredients that you want and things from all over the world if we do feel like cooking something more exotic. And for the most part, we're not in poverty. We have a roof over our heads. To say I can't be bothered, I think is really disrespectful to people who would give their right arm to bother, but they are bombed out of their house. They don't have a house. They're refugee. They're living in a tent. They don't, you know, they are living in poverty. I just think we owe it to the life that we have to look after it and look after ourselves, and to overlook, you know, nutrition and food in the world that whatever religion you believe in gave us, God gave us, or Mother Nature gave us, whatever you believe, you've got to respect it. And to not look after yourself is disrespectful to the opportunity you've got in life.
Also to yourself.
And to yourself, exactly. I mean, why do you not deserve to be nourished, you know, in that way? You'll spend, I don't know, this is a bit of a shallow example, but you might spend a fortune on makeup as a woman, or spa treatments, or hair dye, or shampoos, but you won't spend a fortune on some, you know, really good organic produce, which is probably going to make you beautiful from the inside out. And the same thing with men as well. You spend a fortune on gym memberships, perhaps, and this is very sexist, or products, or hair, you know, hair things, or makeup. Who knows?
Never know.
And women spend a fortune on gym memberships. They do. But then, if you're not looking after the food, it's ridiculous. It's a massive imbalance.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also think it's quite outrageous how many chemicals we put into food as well, and kind of how little we've actually researched what that effect has on people.
Well, there is no research on it. The explosion in the amount of toxins in our environment since the World War II is unbelievable. It's like untenable. I've forgotten the actual number, which is annoying because that would have sounded really good. But since World War II, the amount of pesticides and toxins in our environment has like gone through the roof. And only a tiny fraction of those have actually been tested on humans. So we essentially are the lab rats for what's happened going on at the moment. And the way that's justified is that in the amount that each individual producer is using those toxins or that pesticide or that additive or that preservative is non-toxic in that level. But when you add up the load of everybody using non-toxic amounts, it's definitely toxic, there's no doubt. And newborn babies are born with, I can't remember, like an outrageous number of amount of toxins already in their placental blood, in their blood. Because it's come through their mothers and they can't help it. So that's the newborn babies are already born toxic nowadays. So you're already on the back foot and you've not even started life. So it's madness, and you've got to do everything you can to support yourself against that, because you can't avoid it anymore. You can't run off to Desert Island unless you're Richard Branson and you buy one. But even that. But and you can't avoid it in certain settings. There are things you can do. You can buy organic, you can water away fruit and vegetables, you can switch to skincare products which aren't full of parabens and mineral oils and sulfates and sulfites and all those things. And they are more widely available, if expensive, but again, it's just where you want to invest your money. But equally, you can then, in what you eat, you can give your body the defences it needs to be able to fight off those toxins and pesticides and be able to biotransform them. And if you're not having a diet full of fruit and vegetables and healthy fats and those kind of things, then you've not got raw materials to do that in the first place. So you're piling toxins on top of toxins, and you can't get rid of them, and it just backs up, and you end up with chronic diseases.
So and that's what we see nowadays. So many people have things wrong with them that potentially they wouldn't have had before. Well,
it's the burden on the NHS now, and the problem with the NHS is that it's a healthcare model set up to deal with acute healthcare crises, so acute infections, which is what we used to die of, like smallpox or influenza or acute, a broken leg or a severed leg or acute accidents and acute things. But none of us, very few of us, have acute anything anymore. It's all chronic. So we're trying to use an acute care system with chronic conditions, and it can't cope. You can see the NHS can't cope. It cannot deal with the strain of chronic healthcare in this country, of needing, of living for many, many years with some kind of disease, which means you need constant drugs. Well, I don't agree you need constant drugs, but that's the way that Western society and Western medicine is set up, and constant looking after. So then that sort of care model, while the NHS is amazing that we have sort of the option of free healthcare, is that people are not taking responsibility for their health anymore, and it's always someone else's fault, and it's someone else's responsibility to fix it when it does go wrong. So we're in a bit of a vicious cycle at the moment.
We are, definitely. It's been amazing to have you here and talk about these things.
Thank you.
It's always interesting to talk to people with kind of good ideas, enthusiastic about things to do with sports, fitness, and just health. Because obviously that's what we're getting into and really starting with. And you have a lot of knowledge to drop on people. So
hopefully not all in one go.
No, it's good. It's really good. And hopefully we can get a consultation going, and maybe we'll film that for you guys. So you guys can actually understand what it is that Henrietta does and what's involved with kind of nutritional consultations. So we'll do that for you guys. And thank you very much. Me and Bobby are really happy to be working with you, and we can see some really amazing things happening for you in the future. We're sure of it.
Great. This has been really fun. Thank you very much for letting me come here and just. It's been a bit cathartic, really. This is the first time I've gone start to finish my whole athletics career. That was cool.
Good.
A bit epic. But thank you very much. It's been great.
It's been amazing. Thank you very much. And if you guys want to grab a consultation with Henrietta here, or just talk to her, she has social media. Would you like to promote those? I'm on Instagram as nourished.soul.diaries. Because my company is called The Nourished Soul, and my website is nourishedsoul.co.uk, and Twitter I'm at Henry_PV, and that's Henry with an I. We'll put all of those links in the comment section below as well, or around the video somewhere, so you guys can find her. Well worth it. I would recommend it highly. If you download the app as well, there's a bit of a discount there for any of you guys who want to get a consultation. Definitely get on it, guys, especially for the start of next year, next year's season.
Yes.
It's coming to the end now.
You're right.
Yeah.
God,
time flies.
It does, doesn't it? While we've been talking, it just finished up.
So thank you very much, guys, for tuning in, and we will see you next time with our next guest.